there's a lot going on. So social life, Oxford, tick.
Whilst a lot of people think you don't have time to do these extracurricular things, no one doesn't do something. I got kicked out of my graduation for wearing stripy socks. You literally know everyone, everywhere by the end of it, but that's something that I liked a lot about it.
Oxford versus Cambridge, which one is for you? Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So this week we have a special guest.
Hi, I'm Joe, I'm 22, I run a marketing company and I went to Cambridge. I studied geography at Fitzwilliam College. I graduated around a year and a half ago. Still making videos about Cambridge, but...
So today we thought we'd just make a video about, well, we made two videos actually, one on your channel, which was looking at whether Oxford is actually worth it. You've graduated, I'm about to graduate, and I think it's something everyone at Oxford questions, whether it was worth going. So yeah, if you haven't seen that video, I'll put the link in the description box below, check that out. Also check out his channel, he's got great videos about entrepreneurship, what life has been after Cambridge and all the cool and exciting things that you've done. And yeah, so we're going to get straight into Oxford versus Cambridge, which one is for you? So I think we can start with, why did you pick Cambridge over Oxford?
Because there wasn't an entry test. So I was genuinely stressed at the thought of applying to Oxbridge when I was doing my A-levels. One of the main things that I thought about at the time was I work my arse off for exams, and if I'm getting really high UMS marks, I know that's something that Cambridge favours, whereas Oxford have...
You don't send your UMS.
Pardon?
You don't even send your UMS.
Do you not?
No.
There we go, you don't even send your UMS. It's done a lot of time by entry exam, and I thought, do I really need another huge exam to revise for and to stress over? No. Let's go to Cambridge because they don't have one of those.
Yeah, see, that was quite similar for me, but it was kind of the other way in that Oxford has entrance exams. Whereas for computer science, I knew that if I'd got an offer at Cambridge, I'd then have to sit the step, and the step seemed impossible. So I was like, I'd rather do an entrance exam early on and get kicked out of the process, than get an offer and not meet the offer. So it was, the entrance exams had a lot to do with it, but I think it was just the other way. Talk about, a lot of you have put questions in the comment section of a lot of my videos asking about Oxford versus Cambridge. So we're just going to go through a few of some of them. So first of all, tutorials versus supervisions. What's the difference?
I mean, I think it's two different words for the same thing, if I'm honest. So at Cambridge for geography, we had a supervision, which was like an intense one-on-one, or no, it was usually one supervisor or lecturer, professor, and two students, occasionally three students, sitting in a room discussing an essay and a topic that we had done. And that's where the professor would essentially interrogate you, your argument, everything you stand for. And I'm joking. He would
kind of true though.
interrogate everything you said in your article and kind of encourage you to bounce off your peers.
Yeah, I think that's quite similar, because with tutorials it's literally just going over. So because I do computer science and philosophy, you kind of get the broad range of the humanities tutorials and the sort of sciencey tutorials. So for the sciences, they were essentially just going over a problem sheet. They weren't as interactive. They would like write the answer on the board, and if you had questions, you'd then discuss them. But the humanities were basically the tutor trying to instigate as much of an argument as they can between two partners. So it's usually one or two people. I've actually had tutors alone as well, which aren't as terrifying as they sound. But your tutor is essentially trying to start a dialogue and see how you can argue things out, whether you can back up your argument. And I think the interviews are quite a good representation of what tutorials are like. They try and simulate a tutorial as much as they can in the interviews. So yeah, I think they're generally quite similar.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that does stand out for Oxbridge across other universities, because I have friends who have tutorials at other colleges, other universities, but they usually like 8 students or 9 students, which we would call a class.
Right. Okay, yeah.
So yeah, that's, I think, quite similar. The city and the town.
So I heard that Cambridge was built around the university. The university came first and then they built the city. Yeah. Whereas Oxford was a city.
And then we have the uni.
And then you had the uni.
Yeah.
As a result of that, based on my opinion, there's a lot more to do in Oxford. It's a much bigger city.
Yeah.
Whereas in Cambridge it's much smaller. You have the centre of Cambridge where you have the majority of the colleges, and then you have a few colleges like Fitz, Goethe, and a few others that were on the outskirts. But for the bulk of my time at uni, I spent it in the centre of Cambridge, so it really felt like a small city. Occasionally got quite claustrophobic because you literally know everyone everywhere by the end of it, but that's something that I liked a lot about it.
I think that the sort of, I visited Cambridge for like some of their masterclasses when I was in sixth form, and the biggest difference I saw, see, I always thought that Cambridge was quite spread out, whereas like That's the vibe I got, because
No
Oxford,
way.
all of the colleges are just in the centre.
Right.
And then you have like LMH, Hughes, which kind of farther out, and then Hilders, and that's it. Everything else is just in the centre. Because I'm at UNIV, opposite is Queen's, literally next door is All Souls, behind us is Merton. So it's just like every college is next to each other, and I found it a lot smaller, but there is a lot going on. Like, we have so many things to do. Like, there is life outside the university at Oxford, which is, I think, why there's often quite a town versus gown separation, because you have all these townsfolk who have their life going on. Like, for example, at our clubs at Oxford, we will have nights that are just only for townspeople, because there are so many townspeople that want to go out too, and then specific nights for students, and you wouldn't go out on the town's night. So, yeah, I just feel like it's generally a lot more going on.
Yeah. How many clubs are there at Oxford?
So there's Bridge, Plush, Emporium, not TV, PT, New, but there's like 8 or 9.
Okay, that's one huge thing. At Cambridge, I think there are 4 clubs, and of those, people went to 2 for the most part. Like, there were 2 different days within a week. I think it was a Sunday and a Wednesday, which everyone would flock to Cindy's or Life, whichever one. And that was basically it. Now, you had a few days, a few nights when you would go to different clubs, but for the most part of it, you know, it was 2 clubs, and that was your entire 3 years or 4 years. And people liked that, but at the same time,
I feel like we have a lot more variety.
Yeah.
Like, because there's such a sort of large spectrum of music that they sort of accommodate for. So whatever they listen to at the Bullingdon, because I never go because that's not music. So the Bullingdon, we have like O2, which is sort of like niche, out of the way. And then we have like your mainstream Park End, Bridge Thursday, Park End Wednesday, Plush Tuesday. Like, there's so many different nights.
Yeah, it's a lot.
There's a lot going on. So social life, Oxford, tick. Ooh, exam structure. So Cambridge does the Tripos thing. What's that about?
I did the geographical Tripos, which was a 3-year course. First year was an even split between physical and human geography, and second and third year you get to pick what you want to do within that. So I picked all human. There was a bit of coursework involved, but the majority of it was exams. And in my final year, I had, I think it was 4 exams for the entire year. And my dissertation. Bear in mind, final year for geography at Cambridge is the only year that counts. So you can literally mess around.
So you have exams every year though?
You have exams every year. But I mean, I got a 2-2 in my first year, and then a 2-1 in my second and third year. But it was only my third year that actually counted. So I came here for 2-1, even though I got a 2-2 first year, which is quite handy.
With us, it's like, so everyone sits prelims in first year or in second year if you're a classicist, and those don't count for anything. You just have to pass and get 40%, and then if you do sciences, you have exams every year, second and third.
Right.
And if you do humanities, you only have exams in the third year, and that is everything you did in second and third year, and your entire grade is calculated based on that. So, for example, I had exams in first year, and I got like 59, so like a 2-2 borderline 2-1. Second year, I did exams which were only 12.5% of my grade. And now I have 12 exams this year, and that's everything. So I don't like the fact that I don't have any coursework, I don't have any dissertation, no thesis, and everything is just going to be based on that. I know courses vary, like historians will have a thesis, and I can choose to do a thesis if I want to, but rarely anyone does it. But Oxbridge, I think, is quite exam heavy compared to other universities, where you'll have like 50% coursework, or you'll have your weekly essays don't add up to anything. They are just tutorial essays that you do. So I think that's definitely something to bear in mind. And while we're talking about courses, I think you should definitely look at how your courses are structured at Oxford or Cambridge before picking. Like, I knew that I could not do the Cambridge computer science course because it was so practical in terms of you actually had classes for specific software development things, and I was not interested in that. I was interested in like the maths behind it. While there were lots of classes for that, it was like hard to escape it. Whereas Oxford, I've happily escaped all the programming. Right. It's fantastic. Between geography at Oxford or did you just not consider us?
I honestly just kind of like at that point. So I was never kind of destined to go to Oxford. I never really had my heart set on it because I started in year 8 in bottom sets, and I spent, you know, from year 8 to year 11 moving up sets, trying my hardest. And having to prove to teachers that I was able to get the work that was being sent to the class above and things like that. So by the time I started to actually consider Oxbridge, I was like, yo, this is still like really new. This is still like probably not going to happen. I don't want to shout about this. I'm just going to do it. I need to just do this for myself, and if it happens, it happens. Yeah. When it got to actually, you know, the difference between Oxford and Cambridge, it was a simple decision. It was like, okay, Cambridge don't have an entry, I'm not going to have to spend loads of
Yeah.
time on that. I can just work my ass off for exams, and if my UMS are high enough, then I'll get an interview, then I can charm them an interview. But those are my thoughts. And in terms of the difference between Oxford and Cambridge, in terms of the geography course, I was just like, entrance exam, no entrance exam.
Fair. No,
Sorry, I couldn't be more informative on this one.
That's a fair consideration. Okay, this is something I've actually had a lot in my comment section. Apparently, Oxford has a perception of being easier to get into, and I think that's
Oxford?
because apparently because of the entry requirements are lower.
Right.
So that is definitely a thing. So the way that not like my school was an expert, we got 3 people in. What they used to tell us was that Cambridge give out more offers for like the mathsy, sciencey courses, but the offers are usually higher and with step, and they expect people to miss their offers. Right. They expect a good chunk of, like they give out offers knowing that a good chunk are going to not make them.
So deep.
Whereas Oxford, our offers are, what they say is that once we've done an entrance exam, once we've interviewed you, we give you an offer because we actually want to see you in October. So that's why the offer is usually like 3 A's or 1 A star and 2 A's. Right. Whereas Cambridge give out like 2 A star offers, and I know some people have 2 A stars, an A, and then also a step. So they seem a lot harder. But I think that it's all, I don't really think that there's much, not just because I go to Oxford, but I don't think there's much of a difference. Yeah, so I just wouldn't focus on like entry requirements and stuff, just like go visit and see what kind of environment you like. On that point, I definitely, did you visit Cambridge for applying?
Yes, I visited Cambridge, and I will always remember when I got out the car with my mum in Cambridge, and both of us just looked at each other, and we're just like, I mean, we speak about this moment and the fact that there was like a different air and it just felt different, and everything around the city was just like magical and stuff, and it genuinely was quite like amazing. Yeah. And when I went back for my interview, it was the exact same thing. Things just felt different there. People were friendlier there, especially compared to London. Yeah. I'm sure the same is true in Oxford, but I don't know, I was convinced from the moment I stepped out of that car. I was like, okay, this is the place I need to get here. I have to do it.
I had such a similar experience. I knew absolutely nothing about Oxford. So one day my mum wanted to go to BINDER Village. So me and my dad were like, we can't be asked to go, so let's go visit the university. This was, I think I was in year 11 or something. So we drove to Oxford, put University of Oxford in the car navigation, and literally just ended up in the middle of Oxford, not knowing that the university is divided into lots of colleges, and you have to go visit a college. So we just turned up to Oxford, like, yeah, so where's the university? Not realising that there is no physical building that is the university. But people were so friendly. We walked into Balliol, there was like a sign saying, like, all prospective students welcome. We even got like a tour of the colleges, a tour of the computer science department, and it was at that point that I was like, okay, I really want to go here, because there's just something special about this environment. Yeah. So if you can, I would definitely visit. If you can visit on an open day, that's the best, because that's when the colleges and universities are their sort of biggest and brightest. But if you can't make an open day, just go, because I think the colleges and Portsmouth and stuff are really helpful anyway.
Yeah. On that note, I would recommend visiting a bunch of different colleges, because for me, given what I've just said about how I never expected to go to Cambridge, when I went and visited Trinity and St John's, which are the central, really old colleges, like, you know, the grand typical Cambridge colleges, I was just like, whoa. I was like really intimidated. And then once I got to go to some of the other colleges, whether it's Robinson or Fitz or Churchill, I was like, okay, there are normal people who go here too. Like, this is a normal place.
We're normal.
We are normal. But that really brought things down to earth for me a little bit, and that was important for me to be able to actually have the confidence to apply.
Yeah. I think that going on an open day would definitely help, because you get to meet current students and you realise that they are just normal people.
For some odd reason, the video stopped recording, but we're about to talk about societies and extracurricular activities at each of the universities.
So I was an LGBT officer for Fitzwilliam College, which meant I had a certain budget allowance from the JCR to organise intercollegiate and collegiate events for all LGBT related matters, whether that's having like a welfare tea with like nibbles and coffee and tea, and everyone would just sit and have a space to speak about anything, or LGBT plus related issues, or you could use that for like pre-drinks, going out, organising swaps, which is where groups of people from different colleges get together, go on a night out together.
Is that crew day?
Crew day.
Do you have crew day? Are they
called
crew days?
We call them swaps.
Oh, we call them crew days.
Anyway, so that was the LGBT stuff. And then I started something called Students of Cambridge, which was similar to Humans of New York. I would interview random students on the streets of Cambridge and find out a little story about them, a political idea, some kind of thought about the uni, and then take a photo of them, upload that to Facebook to create content, and then that took off, and then we branched out to Oxford, to Bristol, Dyer, and a bunch of other unis, all under the Students of branding. So it's still online on Facebook today if you want to have a look at it out. if you want to have a look.
So yeah, I think I've done quite a lot of stuff while being. I've got probably involved in way too many societies that I should stop because I need to focus on the degree. I was BME rep with the JCR committee, and that took up quite a lot of time. Again, simply you have a budget, you're organising events. We tried to organise BM meals, which with like other colleges usually just went to Nando's, and things like that. And then in second year, I started. I ran for president of the JCR, so did that for a year, which was way more work than I could have imagined. But even though you're at Oxbridge, you do have time to do these extra things, as long as it's not too many. So while I was doing that, I sort of cut off everything else that I was doing in terms of sport or any other extracurricular activities. And then got into third year and I started getting involved with the Finance Society, so now VP of that. I was also doing Schools Plus, which is like volunteering teaching on the side. So there's a lot of stuff that you can get involved in, and there are so many societies. I have friends who do like 3 or 4 theatre productions a year. There's loads of student-run productions. There's loads of volunteering options. Like we have every sport from your like traditional rugby, cricket to like Quidditch and korfball that people haven't even heard of. So there really are an infinite number of opportunities.
So 2 notes on that. Number 1, the people who were big on the scene, on the theatre scene in Cambridge, are now literally producing West End shows and musicals, which are, you know, sold out in West End theatres. Like it's insane. Like a year after Cambridge, this is literally happening. That's mad. That's one thing. Second thing is that I noticed that Cambridge is there. Whilst a lot of people think you don't have time to do these extracurricular things, no one doesn't do something. Everyone is in a sports team, or they're captain of something, or they're part of a society. No one just worked and did social. I honestly can't think of one person who didn't do something extracurricular.
Like everyone has stuff. Like even if it's like you're part of the Harry Potter Society and you go to like pub quizzes with them, everyone has something. And I think it's really important to find something. I went in going, I'm not the most sporty person, so that's not happening. And going, okay, I don't know what else I want to do, but I knew I liked volunteering, so I tried to find as many volunteering opportunities in first that I could do, which was great. I found like 3 or 4 different ones and sort of simmered them down to one I kept doing. But it's totally up to you. And the thing is that you don't have to come in with an idea of this is what I want to do, because you'll walk into that freshers fair and sign up to the most random stuff ever. So just come in with an open mind, I guess. The next thing we want to talk about is, how is it divided? Do you have classes, seminars, and supervisions, or what is it like?
So for geography, we had a few hours per week in lectures, and then we would get work from those lectures, and then we would have an overarching supervision, usually once a week, which was for a specific essay topic. So that was set on its own. It wasn't part of the lectures, but it was always similar overlapping topics. And then occasionally we had larger group sessions, like at FITS or the FITS geographers, which was like 10 of us would have to present to each other, and we'd have bigger group sessions, but that was maybe once or twice a term, probably once.
I think ours was quite similar. We had lectures, like 2 lectures, or it used to be 2 lectures a day in first year, and then now it's simmered down to about maybe 5 or 6 a week, depending on what courses you're taking. And then tutorials for like all the philosophy courses, and some tutorials for some of the computer science courses, but sometimes there's department group classes. So you might have a class with like 5 or 6 people where you just go over the answer and tutorial sheet with a default student, just because you don't really need a tutor to go over that stuff. And then you'd have labs as well if you're a scientist. We're going to move on to some of the questions that you've sent in through Instagram stories. Did you feel like you were always competing with your friends?
Ooh, that's a fun question. When it came to internships, yes, because I was just like, oh my god, everyone's applying to JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, BCG, and I didn't even know what these things were. And all of a sudden, within a few weeks of being at uni, I was like, okay, everyone else has got spring week, why don't I? I didn't even know what spring week was, and I still don't. Do you know what I mean? Like, that was one area which I was just, you know, quickly felt insecure about and got stressed out about.
Yeah, I don't think I felt competitive. Okay, so very early on I felt a bit competitive, like maybe like week 2 or week 3 of the first term, because I was just so used to school where there was a little bit of competition in terms of who's getting into what uni, who's doing what, like class tests and stupid stuff like that. Whereas at Oxford, what I realised is that no one really cares about who got a high mark on a tutorial essay or who got the high thing. Most people have realised that everyone's worked hard to get there. And I don't know whether that's the same across the university, but at Oxford, everyone who I've met has been generally quite supportive. Like, I have close friends who do the same course as me, who if in the library and if I'm stuck on something, they'll stop their work, help me first, then move back to theirs. Like, people don't really care about getting one up on the other in a tutorial
Yeah.
essay. Like, yeah, it feels great if you get a great mark on something, but at the end of the day, you're not competing with each other academically anymore. The next question, does Cambridge even exist?
What?
Oh, who has nicer parks? We have university parks, which are huge, and South Parks, and what's it called? Thingy Meadow.
I think we have a park.
Meadow.
We had a park. We had a
Seriously?
botanic. Yeah.
We have a botanical garden too.
Yeah, we had one.
I think we win this one.
Our river's nicer than yours.
Is it?
Mm.
How? We have like that lovely Magdalen Bridge, and then you go through Christchurch Meadow.
We have all of those, but they're just nicer.
I need receipts. Which one has better food?
I think that's,
So subjective.
yeah, probably up to you.
Yeah.
Like I liked going to cute little coffee places, but
Yeah.
then a lot of the time they were really overpriced. However, they did have good sandwiches.
And I think also, if you ask about college food, it varies so much. Like,
Yeah.
UNIF has great college food most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Some colleges have really terrible food. So that is when you're thinking about specifically which college at Oxford or Cambridge, go to the open days or speak to people that go there, because
Yeah.
people will be quite honest about it. Like, there are some colleges that I would just stay away from for food, especially if you're not somebody who's going to cook for yourself.
And there's also so much information on the student room about
Yeah.
the differences between colleges,
Yeah.
between the unis as well, so I definitely recommend looking at that.
Which one has a more magical escapist fairy tale vibe? Asking for important
Ooh.
reasons. Oxford's quite fairy tale-y.
I think Cambridge's as well, I think they both are for very similar reasons. I think the aesthetics are
It's
both
that
really
Gothic
similar.
architecture.
Yeah,
It's-
and they also have like tons of famous alumni, people who really changed the world and had like crazy impacts, and they're just dotted around the city, and I
Yeah.
think that's true for both of them.
And it's kind of the only place in the world where you'll think it's acceptable to walk down the street and either see people in ball gowns or see people in academic gowns.
Mm.
It's kind of weird, especially during exam season. The tourists are having like an absolute field day because they just see people in gowns everywhere and assume we live in Harry Potter.
So Oxford students have to wear gowns for exams, right?
Yeah.
Cambridge students don't.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
So
I never had
so
to wear a gown.
could you go to an exam like
for an
this?
exam? Yeah,
Oh my god, that's
it's my Huel top.
so we get like fully like baited out for it if we don't. So if we don't wear everything from the bow tie to the gown to black socks to the dark shoes, like you cannot sit that exam. They send you back.
Wow.
So I remember in the summer, lots of girls didn't wear tights because it was really hot, and they sent people back.
No, that was stupid.
But I know it's bad. But I kind of like it because when I like leave the library, we're like, okay, I have an exam and now I'm done, and put my subfusk on. It's very like I'm now in the exam mode. So
Nice.
for me, it helps channel it. But also, when it's 35 degrees, I don't want to be in 5 layers because it's not just that. It's a bow tie and it's a gown and it's just a lot.
Yeah.
And also, then we have this issue with like scholars' gown versus commoners' gowns.
Right.
So if you get a first at Oxford, so Cambridge gowns are actually really fancy, whereas Oxford gowns are like literally like one of these, like a gilet kind of thing.
I know Cambridge gowns differ for each college.
Oh,
Every
is
college
that-
has their own kind of mark.
Oh, so we have like the same gown for
Yeah.
everyone. Oh yeah, because I've seen blue gowns as well.
Yeah.
So we have the same gown for every college, and when you start, you get like this sort of like vest, gilet, commoner's gown, which you keep forever. But if you get a first at any point, then you move up to this big roby scholars gown, and it's not fun because during the exams you see everyone wearing scholars gowns, and then you sitting in a commoner's gown. So it's a bit.
Off-putting. I got kicked out of my graduation for wearing stripy socks. I remember that. I
The
was
one
recording a
time they
video as
asked
well.
you to wear something.
Yeah, the one time they asked me to like wear the full gown.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was just socks, and I went back to my room. I changed socks into black socks,
Did you
but like whatever.
graduate in time?
I graduated in time.
Good. Rowing? Question mark. Never done it. Can't tell you much.
Never did it. Couldn't tell you anything.
But yeah, I think on the whole, they're quite similar. I would definitely visit if you got the chance. The teaching strategy is quite similar compared to other universities, but just visit because it is quite a vibe thing in terms of whether you want what sort of environment you like. I definitely, when I visited Oxford, immediately fell in love with the place, and I think that is often the case with people. You go to Oxford or Cambridge and you visit, and you immediately fall in love with a place or a college. So I would definitely try and visit if you can.
Yeah, I completely agree. I would definitely say visit, and then I'd also recommend going onto the student room and just doing as much research as you can, because there are so many students who go there and then tell other people what it's like, and having it in those forums where it's very neatly organised and easy to access will really, really help you not only decide between Cambridge and Oxford, but also learn a bit more about the differences and nuances between each college, and that's going to help inform the decision, and it may even help save you time on the opening days when you go.
I think if I'm going to summarise the 3 points that I would say definitely consider: Consider the course structure, because they can vary. So, for example, if you're doing NatSci versus doing just physics or chemistry or biology, you can do that at Oxford, you can't do that at Cambridge. Consider the town, whether you like the environment, what kind of things you're looking for. If you want a better social life, pick Oxford. And I'd say the third thing is the entry requirements. Look at what suits you. For example, if you want to do an entrance exam or don't want to do one, or you want to sit the step, look at what suits you and what you think you'll be able to do best. If you think, I want to secure myself an offer, have a lower mark, but I'm happy to sit an entrance exam, or you may want to not sit an entrance. Just definitely have a look at the requirements and see what suits you. Thank you so much for coming onto my channel. Don't forget to check out our video on Joe's channel too. Check him out, his videos are absolutely amazing and inspiring, and if you go back and look at some of his Cambridge vlogs, they're a lot of fun to watch and sort of see your final year. Was it final term or final year? Final year at Cambridge, which is great. So yeah, check him out, and it was lovely seeing you guys, even though we didn't see you. But yeah, okay. See you guys later.
We saw you. Thank you for watching. Thanks for having me.
Bye, see you.
Bye.